Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Noah Kellman, and I am here to teach you everything that I know about modern jazz piano and improvised music in general. So in this series, we are talking about classical composers and pianists and how we can actually take some of those techniques from their pieces and integrate them into our jazz playing composition, but just in general, improvised music. Sometimes it might even just be taking something incredibly simple, which can completely change our playing and lead us into some really incredible territory. And that's what I'm really excited to chat about with you today in the context of the great Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's music. Now, in today's video, we're actually going to look at a couple surprisingly simple techniques. The reason I want to look at these incredibly simple ones is just to see how far we can take them on the improvisational level, because sometimes starting with a very, very simple idea is all we need, and sometimes it's actually the best way to then create so much more from it. Really quick, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any more videos just like this one. And if you already know my videos or are enjoying this one so far, please smash that like button. It really, really helps me out. Also, quick announcement, I'm actually working on a textures course. So if you're interested in that, please click the link below. It is for the waitlist. People on the waitlist will, of course, be the first ones to know as I'm actually creating it and releasing it. And I will also likely open it up to waitlisters before everyone else. So again, link is in the description if you're interested. All right, without any further ado, let's jump right into this lesson about how we can use Mozart's techniques to improve our improvisational skills. All right, so what you heard in the intro was actually an arrangement that I'm currently working on, which is essentially variations of the song Countdown. Right, the Coltrane tune, of course, for anyone who doesn't know. Now, the reason I'm bringing this arrangement up into the video is not to promote my arrangement here, but partly because I don't know if I could do all these techniques in another context because I'm actually practicing this right now, but also just because this arrangement literally started with one really incredibly simple Mozart technique. And just a quick disclaimer, I don't know for a fact that this technique started with Mozart, that nobody ever used this before him, so I don't want to make it seem like, oh, Mozart was the sole inventor of this technique, but I took this from a Mozart piece that a lot of you may know. And that's really all we need to work with here. In fact, all we really need is the first measure, right? Literally, pretty much the technique I'm taking here is just this little pattern in the left hand. So this little technique got me thinking, right? Can we use this in the context of a jazz standard? And what are the challenges of doing so? Now, it's a really, really simple technique. That doesn't mean it's so easy to take it through changes. So in its most basic form, of course, we could just start here by applying it in root position triads to any tune we want. Of course, we're working on Countdown here, so that would just be. Of course, the pedal gives us a little bit more control, makes it a little prettier. A little bland. It's not necessarily the greatest voice leading here, right? And so we can get a little bit more interesting with it. And step two now is we can think, okay, how can we actually use some triadic inversions to make this flow better? So now you'll notice my hand, instead of skipping around, which is a little bit difficult to do, we have these really nice different inversions of the triads. And if you don't know what inversions are, just super quick, we take a E minor triad. First inversion means we put the E on top. So we're taking the bottom note and putting it on top. So first inversion has the third in the bottom. Second inversion is we yet again take the bottom note and put it on top. And now we have the fifth on the bottom. And that's it. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. That's it with triads. So at this point, the next step is already to bring in the right hand. So we are taking a Mozart technique here, and we are really utilizing it to actually create harmony and motion at the same time. But it's a lot easier when you're doing it with just one hand. So I started with just the melody. Thankfully, the melody is pretty easy on this tune, right? We're just kind of doing the same thing over and over. Now, part of what makes this doable is we're practicing this at half speed, which is fine. And for the record, I actually like it at half speed. I think, for a technique like this, it doesn't make sense to go double speed. I mean, that's cool too, but it's just different, right? It's a choice. Really quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, please be sure to hit the like button. Really, really helps me out. Thank you so much. Now, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. Let's get back to what we were doing here. Let's move on from the melody. What if we actually just kind of double the technique in the right hand, but try to do it with different inversions of the triad, so it's not always just octaves, right? So, oh, and also what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing it opposite, so I'm doing, right, instead of doing, I kind of like the counterpoint of doing the technique in reverse in terms of verticality. So now we're getting some really pretty sounds. Loving where we are going with this. So then from there, what can we do? And the thing I love about this is we're just taking one incredibly simple technique from Mozart and we're kind of building off this entire thing. What if we actually do some triplets in the right hand? So. So essentially what we're doing here is we're essentially creating an entire methodology just based on one simple classical technique. And as you all may know, if you're used to watching my channel, I love coming up with interesting ways of practicing things. So kind of our own little methodologies. And I really, really encourage all of you to trust yourselves. I used to worry about finding my own voice as a player. And, it's still something I'm working on for sure. But if you trust yourself and you come up with your own methods just based on things that you really, really have fun with, it's just a natural growth, a natural evolution that's going to happen for you. So just trust that process. That's my advice, at least. So honestly, I'm not going to go into the details of every single little thing we can do here. You can kind of figure this out for yourself and even try it on another standard or pop song, whatever you want to work on this methodology on. You can actually work on this with whatever tune you want to work on it with, or even with whatever technique you want to try stealing from one of your favorite classical composers. So this is also as much a video about this technique as it is about kind of the process of taking a technique and creating your own methodology. So from here, I just kept practicing it with a metronome, trying to get more and more comfortable, discover more textural ideas, and build upon the technique. So let's see. So we could just piece together some different things there. All right, everybody. Now that's all I've got for you today, but I encourage you to take this idea and go running with it. Find another technique that's maybe not this one. Find another Mozart technique, something that you really, really like. That's your assignment from this video. Find a Mozart technique that you really like and see if you can take it through your own methodology here and do something really, really interesting with it. Also, really quick, just a reminder that the link to the waitlist for my textures course is in the description, so be sure to get signed up if you're finding this stuff helpful. I've got a lot more where this came from. If you got something out of this video, please be sure to hit the like button. And as always, if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button and clicking the bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any more videos just like this one. I feel like I always mess up saying turn on more notifications. I just did it again. It's like really hard to say for some reason, and I'm always saying it fast. All right, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.